So I'm going to talk about the mobile first strategy that Google adopted a few years back. The strategy is about making applications and programs mobile first so that they work for your mobile platform, your device, and then applying those changes to work with a desktop. Uh, Google's mobile first strategy really encompasses three things: who it's for, who your audience is, the challenges that they face, and what's the future of this strategy. What kind of growth are we looking at? So first and foremost, they do consider the audience, and as you'll see, mobile internet access has really taken over. In fact, it has exceeded usage of the desktop internet for the first time ever, and that's only going to continue to grow. So Google's really got to consider who they're doing this for, and that is the audience. So Google's a technical god in many circles, but the mobile market's not without its share of challenges, and Google is not exempt from those challenges. And now that there is a mobile first strategy in place, what's ahead for this type of development? So 68% of Americans have smartphones, 45% own tablets, but with all that ownership of mobile devices, PC ownership has not changed in the last decade. So the market for PCs is still there. People are still buying, people still need them. Now why is this if they can do everything on their phone? Well, the fact is they can't do everything on their phone. The PowerPoint presentation, for example, it'd be really hard to do on a mobile device. It's tough to gauge size and styles and are things matching up the way they're supposed to on a mobile phone or even a tablet. It'd be difficult to do. So, just as an example, that is something that you would really need to do on a PC. So business professionals make up the second part of our audience. And business professionals were very quick to adopt BYOD, which stands for Bring Your Own Device. Bring Your Own Device really was hated by IT for a very long time. It's widely accepted now, but it definitely wasn't always the case. But employees want to be able to do their job as well as take care of their personal life on whatever device they wanted to do. They didn't want to listen to what IT had to say about you need this to be able to function. So things are a little bit easier now. Software companies have also embraced this, and they make things more secure and easier to implement for IT professionals such as myself. So really, BYOD it kind of spawned a new need for software developers. So as I said before, mobile internet usage has surpassed desktop usage. But really, what does this mean? Well, within the last few years, desktops were seemingly only needed for gamers or business professionals. And this trend has not changed in a decade. So what really does that mean? Well, it means that people still need the PC, as I stated before, but it also means that they're able to get a lot of their job done through the mobile device. So business professionals are finding ways to connect back to their home network and to their business network without really suffering. I can't do this or I can't do that. They're able to do it all, and they're able to come home, log into their PC, and do exactly what they need that they couldn't do here. The third part of our audience is developers. Now, these are the people that make the products that you use on your phone. The guys and girls that are just wizards at programming languages and being able to adjust an application for a user's needs. Google actually created a development site, and they built this to help encourage collaboration, testing, and knowledge sharing between other developers. So it's more than a site, really. It is a community, but the idea behind it is to motivate developers to continue to do mobile-first applications. So I think everybody knows what Google Maps is. Even Apple, who's a very large competitor of Google, recommended that people use the Google Maps on their iPhones when the Apple Maps failed. They were a very, very big blunder when they came out. They wouldn't work. They would lead you different places. It was just a mess when Apple decided to put out their map product. So almost 2 million sites currently use the Google Maps API. Now, an API It stands for Application Program Interface, and it's really just a piece of an application. So the API, it's the part that the developers actually use, which allows them to create custom applications for you. So an example of this, I would use, I don't know if anyone plays Pokemon Go, but my family and my kids and I, we're very much into it. But there are some maps out there that use Google's API that help tell you the location of some of the Pokemon in your area. Now they use the Google API, so it's a very recognizable format. You can look at it, you know the map, you know how it works, you know how to search. So Google gave you this piece of their maps to use with whatever you need to use it for. The technology's already built, the streets are already in there, you can already do searches and directions. All you got to do is take it and then apply it to what you really need it for. And Google has actually gone one step further and adopted this for their Sheets product, their Slides, and their Docs. So if you have an application that you really need a spreadsheet, but you don't want to rebuild the wheel, you don't want to have to build a spreadsheet and the application that uses the spreadsheet, you may use Google's API for Sheets and be able to do your application that way. Okay, so what are some of the challenges that they face? Well, the products need to be available anywhere if they're going to go mobile only, or mobile first, I should say. Developers really need to be mindful of bandwidth consumption. You can easily have a site that has just enormous bandwidth needs, and you're not able to do what you need to do. So the average time a person will actually wait for a page to load is literally the blink of an eye. I did some research on this in a previous course, and it's the blink of an eye. If you click on a link and it doesn't load, by the time you blink, you're gone. You're off that page. It's really crazy how impatient we've become and how we demand things more now. So, but if bandwidth is an issue for your app, then it needs to be available offline so that when someone has a good connection, they can download what they need and then go offline with it as they need it. So another challenge they face is making sure that the application is available on whatever device you want to use. So 590 million iPhones were sold between 2010 and 2014. Only 110 million Windows phones have been sold in the lifetime of Windows phones. BlackBerries own less than 1% of the market share, and a lot of times you're forced to upgrade your old hardware, so you don't get to use your preferred device sometimes. The Windows numbers, the 110 million, that's a lifetime of Windows phones. That's however long the Windows phone has been available, which is really bad. It's horrible sales. I think Apple and Android combined are somewhere in the billions for their lifetimes of sales. In regards to being forced to upgrade old hardware, Apple and Microsoft are notorious for making their own products no longer usable, which forces you to upgrade if you want to be compatible with their programs. So if you want Windows 10, the bad news is you won't run on your old hardware and you're going to have to upgrade. Another challenge is a compatible user interface. So there are many different platforms and operating systems, and not all browsers, even for the PC, are going to let you do the same things on them. Android has around 10 different operating systems. iOS is on update number 10, and not all of Apple's devices can run iOS 10. We have an older iPhone 4 here at the house. It's actually what I'm using for my PowerPoint clicker right now, and it can't run many of the new applications. It does run this PowerPoint clicker pretty well, and I'm very fortunate for that, and I'm thankful that I'm able to use the device that I want to use. Earlier versions of Apple hardware stop at previous iOS versions, and I believe this stops at iOS 7 or 8. So you can't use some of the newer apps on it. Browsers are not equal, and you may remember Netscape, and if you do, then you're old like I But Chrome is the front runner in browser technology. They've accepted a lot of the newer um, technologies for browsers. They've accepted them, they've adopted them, they've put them in the Chrome product. I actually spent a couple of weeks developing a piece for our company's intranet. I had it tested, I had it programmed, I had it tweaked to exactly what I needed it to be. Tested it. I was testing it in Chrome because that's what I use at home, and that's what I use mostly at work for my development purposes. But everything that we have runs on Internet Explorer, and that was my mistake because part of the code that I used was not compatible with Internet Explorer. So I'm actually still rewriting that code to make it work for the firm that I work for, to make it work for their browser. Very, very frustrating to have that happen to me. But Internet Explorer and even the new Edge does not support the technology that Chrome was supported. So I'm still reprogramming. Another challenge that they're going to have, or that they do have rather, is interaction between devices. So if I'm sitting at my computer and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to shut this down and go to my phone, I want to be able to continue whatever I was doing on my computer on my phone. So regardless of the platform I have, I need to be able to pass that information over to the next platform that I'm going on and pick up where I left off. And this needs to be able to happen regardless of operating system, platform, or hardware. Families today have multiple devices with multiple people accessing the same device. So they have to be able to use the same apps on one device that they can use on another. A good example of technology that works, again, from Google, is the Google Chrome web browser. Chrome does a wonderful job of allowing you to sync your history, favorites, recently visited, your passwords, all that stuff. So if I log in at my computer at work and I have to rush home or it's time to go, I can pick up where I left off on my phone by opening up a recent browser history from my computer because I'm synced with all of my devices. Now, it's going to take a lot of work for all applications to get there, but I really believe that's where applications are heading. They're going to have that interoperability where you can sign in at your desk. If you're walking away, you pick up your phone, boom, you're right on your phone, right where you left off with what you were doing. And I really think that's the way the technology's headed. So growth. Social platforms like Facebook are really big for consumers, but not so much for businesses. Companies like Yammer have developed these types of platforms for businesses. Even Microsoft recognized the need for it, and they put in their own product, SharePoint, My Sites. So it's a risky play for any company, though, as it's not really widely accepted in the business community, but it is definitely on the horizon for being mainstream. Additional growth, mobile first is going to move to mobile only. I think it's just a matter of time. Google's pushing businesses to think mobile, and if your program or app can be sustained on a mobile only platform, then you've already completed what you need to do for the future. A good example of this is Uber. You can't order an Uber online on your PC. You have to do it from your mobile phone. So there's really even no need for a website for Uber because everything they offer can be done on your phone. So another example of this is Instagram. You cannot upload any pictures from the Instagram desktop website. But if you're on your phone, you don't have any issues doing that. So these are two apps as an example that have sustainability for being mobile only. They work on mobile. They don't need a desktop. They don't need that burden. They don't need that cord in order to operate. So this is one drive I think that a lot of applications are going to go for. And that is the end of my presentation. I hope you learned a little bit about Google and the mobile first strategy that they've adopted. And as you can see, the work cited here is where you can find some of the information that I used. Thank you.